Welcome to another episode of the Pepper Soup Talk Show, where we bring to the table movers and shakers in the African diaspora. My name is Hakim. I'm here with my partner, Toby. So we have the pleasure of speaking today with Musa Hakim Jr. And we're going to be speaking about a topic that is becoming more and more relevant as the days go by. NFTs. NFTs have come up a couple of times in our Pepper Soup Talks, but this is our first guest who is actually building in the space. So he's the founder of Lazy Moose NFT, and we look forward to hearing about his background, about the story, and his plans for the idea. And it's an upcoming NFT project that's getting ready to launch. They plan to work with all types of groups, from athletes to musicians and artists. And so I'm gonna let him introduce himself. So go ahead and take it away, Musa Hakim Jr.
Thank you. Thanks for the platform, first of all, and we all putting this all together. Nice to meet everybody. My name is Musa Hakim Jr. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Lazy Moose. Go a little bit of background on myself, and I can talk a little bit about kind of how I got into the project and kind of NFTs in general. So I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, born and raised. I went to a public school system here in Cleveland called Breakthrough Public Schools. I actually still work with them now, and they service students. At the time, I believe it was about 1,200 students when I was there, but now they've grown over to 3,500 students in the greater Cleveland area. And 78% of the students, actually 80% now, of the students live at or below the poverty line. And despite this, Breakthrough is one of the best, highest performing middle school systems when you look at all the statistics taken in consideration in Northeast Ohio. And they do a lot of moving and shaking in Ohio as well. From there, I went on to CATE, which is a private boarding school in Southern California. And I got into CATE through this program called A Better Chance, which connects students of color to private day and boarding schools across the United States. And then I just graduated from Case Western in May with a degree in material science engineering. That's where I went after I was at CATE. And I work full-time as an engineer. And then I have this NFT project brewing in the pot too. So yeah, that's a bit about me. I don't know if I should stop there for any question.
Yeah, no. Thank you for sharing that with us. And growing up in Cleveland, I know All-Star Weekend was just came to Cleveland. Were you there for it while that was going on?
Yeah, man, it was so cool, man. I've been telling everybody I went to high school with and stuff. I'm like, man, it's lit in Cleveland. It's lit in Cleveland. Nobody wants to believe me. You know what I'm saying? Also, and it was lit in the city. Everybody was outside. You know what I'm saying? We had a lot of big name folks here from everywhere. And where I grew up in Cleveland, I grew up right off 93rd and Kinsman. So if you know Cleveland, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But Ja Morant is he's one of my favorite basketball players. Ja Morant was up there. So it's kind of crazy even to just see. I had this video I took. I said, man, they got Ja Morant in the hood, for real. So having these folks come to the city, man, it does a lot more than just, have the basketball event. It really does a lot for the people here, getting the chance to see a lot, especially for the young kids, man. They really look up to a lot of these guys, and having them here in the city was great. So, I saw that Adam Silver said that it was $100 million was generated into the Cleveland economy over the weekend.
That's big.
So that kind of stuff always does huge for the city, and hopefully we can get more events of that similar status into the city over the next few years.
Cool. So NFTs, man, if we could start with just defining what it is, because it's something that, and I see a lot of these NFT projects starting to come up, but it's very new, right? It's still a very new space, and it's also not all that many people from our communities who are working in this space. And so when we talk about NFT, sometimes I think it could be hard to define it. if you're not in a project, or if you haven't bought one, or so I know that we did a research on you and the project you're working on, and one of the things that you really about is educating people on NFTs and the Web3 space. So can we start with that? Kind of breaking down to us like what exactly are NFTs, and then let's get into sort of the project.
Yeah. So, and this is personally my favorite part because I think this is one of the biggest hurdles for people, not necessarily entering the space, because you can enter the space whatever level, but for you to actually start to gain things from the space. Like I was talking to someone earlier, and I said you just have to know the right questions to ask. So, what an NFT is, it stands for non-fungible token. It's like the dictionary definition. So if you think about like a fungible asset, like a dollar, as opposed to a non-fungible asset like a house. So there are different valuations for non-fungible assets, largely based on the value that other people assign towards it. So I like to tell people NFTs aren't new, they're just different. So, I got this MacBook computer. I bought it because I wanted it, and I paid however much I paid for it because that's how much it costs. And it was that simple. For some people, it's that simple when it comes to NFTs. They look at, what the NFT looks like. They look at the project, all the hype around it. Something I'll go into a little bit. Soon as utilities, they look at the utilities associated with it, and then whatever that price tag is, if they can afford it, they pay for it. So that can be everybody always. It's like, oh, well, why are people spending millions of dollars on these apes? It's like, relax, like that's a very big project, like it's like it makes sense for people to be spending that much money because when you look at, the utilities and that community is very much so like ironclad, tight, and the things that they're getting out of that community are very important for the individuals who hold those NFTs. And I look at NFTs from a simpler standpoint is something like this. And this is always the aha moment for people. It's just a file. That's all we're doing right now. We're buying and selling files in the same way that, social media was like a digital was a way for you to buy into digital interaction. So, in the past, if you wanted to talk to somebody or get to know somebody, you needed to, be around that person face to face. And then we started writing letters, and there was a telephone, and then you can, communicate a little bit further, but it's still limited in a sense. With social media, you were able to get this stuff instantaneously. And that's what NFTs are. NFTs are an application built upon something called a blockchain, which is a connection of, it's called a blockchain because there's a bunch of different blocks or nodes or computers or systems or whatever you want to think about it as, talking to one another on one continuous chain. And NFTs are just a thing that uses that. So, it's not as simple or as confusing as I make it sound, because I think it's very much so dependent on who the person is and like what they're able to relate it to and understand. I've explained NFTs to some people as stocks. When you look at stocks, people are buying into an NFT project. They're buying into whatever that project is promising in the same way that, I remember like 3 years ago, I wanted to buy a bunch of I didn't have the money, but I wanted to buy a bunch of Carvana stocks because I was buying into a car vending machine. Like the fact that they were just going to bring you a car to your house, I thought that was genius. So some people will, invest into an NFT project. It's just, like I said, under a different guise, and it's like an upgraded version because you can make money from it. You can get royalties from it, things like that.
Wait, did I say you were going to invest into a car vending machine?
Yeah. So there was this. Yeah.
Oh, where?
Yeah. So
I didn't know that's
Carvana,
what. Yeah, that's what Carvana. Oh, that's what.
Yeah. So like when Carvana first came out, I remember when they first came out, but when they first started like advertising on like a large scale, I remember watching the commercial like Carvana, the first car vending machine. And I remember being like, huh? Usually, you got the YouTube ad, and after 5 seconds you skip. Every once in a while, I'm all like, let me see what's going on. So I'm watching the ad, and it's pretty much like, it's a fully online car purchase. And I remember thinking about that and being like, wow, like that's such a good idea. Yeah. Look, I remember I think back then the Carvana stock was like $62. Now it's over $100, 3 years later. So, when you see something like that, you want to invest in it in the same way that people, look at an NFT project and they're like, man, like So they're gonna, put me into a metaverse, and I'm gonna be able to use AR, and I'm gonna, get this profile picture that represents this community, and I get to network. Like that's what they're paying for.
Right.
So, in the same way, like I was saying, with like a house or a computer, you pay for it based on the value that you get from it.
Yeah. And what I'm hearing from you is it sounds like you have the element of what you're purchasing. However, the values are also largely, in the case of most people who are buying these NFTs, the community that's coming with it and everything around the project or the file or whatever it is that you're buying. And I guess that's where it clicks for most people, or when you buy into something like you're seeing everything that comes with it besides just the actual file itself.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So and that's why people always, it's so common. Do your own research. Do your own research. Because
Yeah.
I may love an NFT project. I'm really into sports, music, stuff like that. And I'm like, oh yeah, buy into this project. And you don't like sports.
Yeah.
And now you stuck with this NFT and you don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
So it's like, make sure you buy what you want.
And can you define? So when you're describing it earlier, you said people buy it regarding or because of the utilities around the NFT, and some are more ironclad than the other, and that's what increases the value. Can you define that more better? What is the utilities and what's the ironclad clause people should be looking for?
Right. So, and this is actually something that we're kind of within the Lazy Moose project, we're kind of toying with is what the impact of two different things, rarity versus extreme accessibility. So I kind of keep giving people this example. I remember I was at work watching TV when Apple hit $1 trillion valuation. And I remember thinking, I looked over to the secretary and I was like, that's what happens when you make people buy a countless supply of your product. And that's one option. Or, you can have a finite number of products, and you can release those products, and people will want to buy those products secondhand because there's not a lot of them. So those are the kind of the two options, in my personal opinion, when it comes to, trying to create like a consumer-based product. You either want to have a bunch or you want to have a finite number, kind of in this niche genre, kind of in like the resale market, which is kind of where NFTs are. So as you think about like accessibility, it's like, if I have something, the less there is of it or the more that comes with it, the more somebody else is going to want it. And if there's only a certain number, they're going to have to get it from me. So that's kind of where that ironclad, where it's like you have to figure out either, if you're early to a project, that's everybody wants to find the next 10x, 100x, because they want to be able to buy one for $70. They don't want to have to buy it for $3,000 or $10,000. So once you're in that community, and that everybody's talking about their project going to the moon, once it starts going up, people look at you differently within the community. And there's also there's a lot of celebrities who are, and I don't know these people personally, so I don't want to cast any judgments or anything like that, but are kind of just buying into these because they know that it's a good idea, but they may not necessarily care or, want to dig deep into why, so when a project hits, $50,000 for the floor price, you may have more people looking toward that project because they're like, well, like this is in my bracket now. That's for, somebody, I know Odell Beckham is really big in the NFT space. For Odell, $50,000 is like 70, so that's the floor for him, so it's a different conversation, but as you move up in the space, you get more. And on the utilities aspect, I think about it like this, I buy I buy a product and I get it. And, that's it. The utilities are, you buy your NFT and you get it. And what can we then add to this NFT to make it valuable? You can add to make it more valuable. So a lot of projects are doing a play to earn game or merchandise or networking events or parties. So it's like, once I own this, what do I then get for it? Well, look, after you hold it for 6 months, holders we get a party, or you get a spot on the whitelist so you can resell the NFT. Like those are the different utilities that come with it to make it more attractive to outsiders. And like I was saying, that's what makes people want to buy into the project.
Question on that around the utility side, right? Because you talk about how people can do different, can get access to different things. You know, once you buy the NFT, and let's say you buy something for like $70 or whatever the case is, what is it that it makes it go up or down in the market and value in the market? Like, is that just supply and demand? Is it, you know, because you see, you know, some of these NFT projects that launch and, you know, floor price goes up immediately 5x, 10x, whatever. And then you see it on OpenSea, which the site that you can resell them on or buy them on. But what is it that determines one project, you know, going up in value versus another? That's just a question I've been wondering, because utility can come in different ways, right? So I don't know what your thoughts or opinions on that.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. Like I think about it like I actually wrote this in our light paper. I think about it as kind of like when startups first came around. You know, when there's a number of successful startups, they are met with a certain amount of resistance because everybody's like, oh, this is a very new concept. You're just starting this idea completely from scratch in this technology industry. You're trying to do this crazy innovation. You're trying to literally create something. And then it works. And then everybody's like, wait a minute, hold on. So we can do this? And usually those things, I watched this video because technically we're also classified as a tech startup because we do actually help people do the process of creating NFTs. So I'm looking at all these videos with startups. One of the things they talk about, timing. So if the timing for your project, you know, you're looking to release a project and say you're really hung up on music. Music is, you know, where your NFT project is going to be big. And, you know, you market yourself, blah, blah, blah. You go through the process of creating your project, but the timing's not right. What does that mean? There may not be a lot of eyes on a specific area in which you decided to target. This could be potentially you decided to launch your NFT at the same time as the Winter Olympics, when a lot of people are looking at the Winter Olympics. Or you decided to launch your NFTs, you know, at the 23rd of August, and you don't realize that football season's that weekend. You know, so you have to really think about the timing. Another thing is the marketing, right? So I was telling someone someone asked, you know, what if I was talking to someone and I said, you know, we're looking to add a blockchain developer to bring in-house so we can create all our smart contracts in-house. And someone asked, well, like, what would stop that person from, you know, why would they want to work with you? And I said, well, who are you? If you're creating an NFT project as a normal person, right, with no actual, say your social media following doesn't surpass, you know, 5,000 people, say you have a, you know, limited network to your own area, like who's actually interested in buying your NFTs? That's the second part, which is that marketing aspect. You have to either leverage the audience you already have, or you have to create a new audience. Neither of those are easy. Because if you have your own audience, you have to prime them for what NFTs are. Like you're going to see a lot of major corporations over the next year to 18 months releasing NFT projects, and they don't do well because nobody in their community knows what an NFT is, or they don't know how to buy one, or they, you know, buy one and they don't know what to do with it, so they don't pay attention to it. They don't tell people about it, you know? So the marketing aspect is really important. Like you want when your NFT releases, everybody should want to buy it. You know, like when Apple, whenever that first, I know y'all remember back when people used to camp outside the Apple stores to buy the iPhones for like days. Yeah. You know, like people have to want your product that bad. And especially early on in this type of market, you know, you want to make something that people really, really want that'll last. Because if you have, you know, everybody wants to hit this 10,000 number. If you have 10,000 NFTs you want to release and your community's 20,000 people, your numbers aren't looking too good, right? Because now you have to hope that other 10,000 people who didn't get one for some reason is going to want to buy into the project. You know, and then you're going to be circulating between those people. You want to have a sizable community. And this is where that other aspect comes in, is you have to create something that people want to feel involved in. And I phrase it that way because it's not as simple as, you know, marketing or, you know, timing. It's like, what are you trying to create? And why would someone else want to spend their hard-earned money on what you made? And I like those three things because, again, it's not new, it's different. You can apply that to a lot of different things. And that's what really helped us on our end, is, you know, sitting back and being like, all right, I was at CES in January this year, and I was listening to Eric Calderon talk about NFTs. And he said he kind of wanted to get rid of the word NFT because it's already started to like shape how people look at it. Stop and just look at it for a second as, you know, a monetary exchange, a value exchange between, you know, two entities, a consumer and a producer of a product. We see that everywhere, whether it be candles or water bottles or NFTs. You know, you have to make sure that your process is something that makes people want to buy your product. That's why I say that last piece is important, you know, really taking into consideration who's in my community. Don't make your utilities, you know, music based when your NFT community is full of, you know, 3D printing artists, you know, like that's not for your community. That's what you want. So I think that's like the hard part for people as well, is, you know, sitting back and saying like, oh, I want to release an NFT project. Why though? Do you want to release this NFT project for people or for yourself? And if it's for yourself, you gotta do a lot of thinking about how you're gonna make somebody else want to buy something that just you want, or just you want to create.
Thank you for breaking that down. I guess that was very comprehensive, and that's a lot of food for thought too, because like you said, you were talking about the elements of what makes a good NFT project, or will make somebody want to buy into an NFT project. But you're also talking about is what will make someone want to buy into anything a person is building, and so there's definitely a lot of food for thought there.
Yeah. So one thing, let me say, I'm just a consumer. I don't know anything about the space, blockchain, NFT, or the such, but I see everything's going on the media. People are making money. Is this, you know, a couple million here and all that other stuff, and I'm trying to jump into the hype. How can I correctly go into the space and not, let me say, lose money, or the right path to go in order to be an expert in the space or start off?
That's a really good question. And I'll start it off with a quick shameless plug. You can follow me on Twitter or Instagram. And I say that because I personally am in that same bucket. Like when I first started this, you know, I didn't know where to start, and I had a finite amount of money. I didn't have, like I was saying, I'm not able to throw $50,000 towards some NFTs. I had, you know, a couple $100 to think real hard about what I wanted to do with it. And I decided to, you know, start a company. But regardless, you know, you're going to be making some kind of investment into something in the NFT space. So you have to learn what the space is. That's the first step. So I said Twitter and Instagram. Twitter Spaces is probably one of the biggest vehicles for learning about NFTs there is. Currently, Discord is really big on like building communities for drops, and, you know, Telegram is an app that people use. There's a couple other apps out there. But Twitter Spaces is very unique because there's something that has to happen. Something I haven't brought up so far is just this concept of Web3, right? That's what this is all umbrella termed under, which allows people to, on the outside, to have at least some kind of validation for it. And I'll give a quick breakdown. You know, Web 1, we're just posting things onto a static screen. Web 2, we're able to post and interact with these things on a static screen, and these screens become dynamic, and you're able to both input and output information from it. And Web 3, where do we then evolve from that? It's still very early on to give Web 3 any actual definition, but you know, that's kind of where the concept is. But you have to bridge, right, Web 2 to Web 3. And social media is the bridge between Web 2 to Web 3. You talk about metaverse, you talk about, autonomy, you talk about, bringing these entities that are ourselves and monetizing them on our own. That's where social media is. Social media was the first. I was talking to somebody this the other day. Like, imagine telling somebody 30 years ago that you could sit on your computer and upload videos to the internet and become a millionaire. They would probably arrest you. Like, that's how crazy it sounds. Like, they're like the Salem witch trials, and they're like, no, like, or like when Copernicus is saying, where the earth is, these people are crazy. Like, if you told somebody 20 years ago, I'm about to make a YouTube channel and become a millionaire, watch this. Like, they're gonna be like, all right, dude, like, put this jacket on. Like, and that's the same thing as we look in the Web3. A lot of it doesn't make sense, but we do have the ability to allow platforms that exist in Web2 to be that bridge. And I think Twitter is one of the best ones, because within the Twitter spaces, you can join a space as anybody, whether it's, 6 people in the space or, 1,500, then really listen and take things in. You may not always be able to ask questions. Sometimes you can join a space and you can't ask questions. But, when you're watching videos on YouTube, you can get a lot of information, but you can't interact. I'm a very, what was that? Can you repeat that? I don't understand what you're talking about, type of person. So I need to ask questions. Some people are like that, or, you may need to form some kind of personal connection to understand something. You can do that through Twitter spaces. There's people I've met on Twitter over the last 3 or 4 months that I know so much about already, just from, I was talking to someone earlier, just from like kind of jumping straight into the conversation. So, all right, we all on the internet. It's 1 a.m. and we on our phones talking about NFTs. Like, what are we really like doing here? So you really start to learn who people are as you talk about these projects. Like I mentioned the city of Cleveland earlier. That's one of the passion areas that I have for this project because I grew up here. I've seen, how the cities evolved and changed over the years, and I want to do the best that I can to, make my city prosperous. Helping individuals that look like me who are going to come after me, find success in life. That's something that wakes me up in the morning about this project. And you can talk about that on the Twitter space. That was, I don't know how many characters that was just now, but it's, you know what I'm saying? You get to actually connect with people. Another thing I would say is go onto these platforms, OpenSea, Rarible, Mintable. There's a new platform coming out called Mintify. Go onto these platforms and really look at what's going on. I used to just be on OpenSea doing everything with minting a collection because I wanted to see what it looked like. How long did it take? What do I like? What do I not like about it? What prices are these things trading for? Can I notice any differences? Doing those things, just familiarizing yourself with the space because it's still very new. I would say the third thing is, on that same vein, start to see what you can create and understand on your own. Once you kind of get out of the exploratory phase where, you've dug around, you've made your wallet, you've written down your seed phrase on 6 different pieces of paper, and, you have it hidden in 3 different locations in your apartment. Once you're ready to start, go ahead and start. Go on OpenSea, look around, go a little bit further, go all the way to the process of right before you buy NFT. Don't, scroll around on Twitter, find a community, join a couple of Twitter spaces, learn who the founders are, and then once you're ready, and that's when you kind of jump into the space. So once you know what you're looking for in this space, how to operate in this space, the most important thing is safety. If you don't feel comfortable making transactions on your phone within the NFT space, don't. It's still very early. There's obviously going to be, hopefully not too many, but there's going to be regulations and everything that come around, keep the space as cordial as we can for people who are coming in. But at the same time, as we know, when things are early on, you have to really, I always tell people, I'm the one that's taking all the nonsense from this because, everybody who's in the space early on, we're the ones who are saying like, hey, don't lose your seed phrase. And you're like, well, why do you say that? Because I lost mine. That's how you learn these things. You learn it
Yeah.
from doing it. And then we're the ones who kind of tell people. So once you feel comfortable in the space, that's when you can start buying, selling, and just be patient. Patient. Don't get into it with the money being at the forefront. It's something I told myself a while back. This is dedication. If you want to, put, $500 towards some NFTs and become a millionaire, that's luck. Like you can't control when a project is gonna explode. You can invest into a project and do your part to, help that project grow. But from a consumer level, if you're trying to become a millionaire off these things, like be very careful, because that clouded vision is oftentimes how people end up getting scammed, getting like, oh, like this NFT opened at, 0.02 ETH and now it's at 5 ETH. No, it's not. It's been 3 days. That's not possible. So once you start looking at it for the money, you kind of lose the point of it. So stay calm and stay patient.
Thanks for really breaking that down for us. You speak about safety and security. I think I was reading about it last week or the other week that OpenSea was hacked. Was it like did you read about that? It was like a big OpenSea hack and it was millions of dollars taken from the platform.
It's always funny how like the social media cycle works. Technically, it was technically not hacked. There were a number of users on OpenSea whose information got compromised. Although it obviously it's very much so possible for OpenSea to get hacked. But I'll share a little bit of information with you, but I'm sure not a lot of people know. The San Francisco 49ers football team as an organization got hacked like 2 weeks ago. So wow. Yeah, I think this was on ESPN. They were talking about it. And, if you're not a sports junkie like me, that's not going to be something that you pay attention to. But it's very much so possible for these large organizations and entities to get hacked. Obviously, if you are in the NFT, crypto, digital asset space, it's possible for you to get hacked as well. And that's why it's so important for individuals to, like, I was talking to someone I met on Twitter, his name's AI Scholars. He was talking about insurance for NFT projects. So, that's something we're going to look into. Before you buy one of our NFTs, if anything happens to it, this project is insured. In the same way that, when you buy your phone, they ask, do you want Apple Care? Do you want, whatever? I don't know what Samsung has, but do you want Samsung Care? Because they understand that you are investing money into this thing that you want to buy. On the security side, though, it's a lot more on the personal level. So there's something called phishing. I'm not sure how familiar people are with phishing, but phishing is, I believe they call it like social hacking, where what you're trying to do is you're trying to break down someone's barrier, like their visual or sometimes like they have the spam calls. That case would be like audio barrier, by welcoming them in with something that seems real and then stealing some kind of information. So sometimes it'll be, hey, your account has been compromised. Click here to log in, to like reset your account. And it'll be like from Google and it's spelled with like 3 O's and a W or something like that. But because you're so scared that your account's been compromised, you already logged in and are putting your information in. And then it takes you to a second page. It may take a while to load, but they now have your email and your password to your Google account. So that same thing can happen with NFTs. And that's oftentimes what happens. People, like I was saying, with when your vision gets clouded, you're not paying attention to the steps. What are the steps? How much effort and research have I put into looking into this project? This link that everybody says, turn off Discord DMs, because people know that, some of these projects do, have millions of dollars worth of value circulating within their community. And, people find that to be very attractive, either if they want to, steal it or if they're just bored. Hackers, sometimes some of these hackers just kind of do these things for like the challenge piece, and you may just be caught in the crossfires. So doing things like having dual factor authentication on all of your accounts, owning a hardware wallet, these are the steps you can take to ensure that you yourself are not personally compromised.
I got to just interject about this whole security and, being careful thing, because, Toby knows, but like, I've gotten pretty deep into the DeFi and Web3 space. And I'm learning more about NFTs, but I had put quite a lot of money into this one project called Wonderland, Tom Wonderland. And the founder of it, so the project was around like basically they were trying to be sort of like a community oriented VC, and the founder, it's one of the founders of the project, he got doxxed, which doxxed is when you basically your identity is like revealed, and it was found out that he had this long history of committing financial fraud, and although like he may or may not have been doing anything wrong within that project, but it caused like the whole project basically to go downhill. And honestly, it may even end up fine in the long term, but a lot of people lost a lot of money from that project, including myself. So like, that's all I say too. Like, just being careful about putting money onto these platforms in general, the projects that like you're buying into, and not letting your vision get clouded too. Like, to your point, because it's easy to you get carried away sometimes, and because it's a very exciting space. A lot of this is new and things that none of us have ever seen before. So just wanted to interject that.
Definitely, yeah.
Oh, and just one thing, why did you prefer to build out an NFT instead of just invest in like most people?
His work is a little deep. So I from my own personal perspective, like I've been really into like technology, and I was telling somebody, I remember I've been around Web2 for my whole life. So I remember I used to take the bus. I used to take the 14 downtown in the morning. I would listen to music on my headphones on YouTube. I used to be downloading songs. I remember when I got to high school, I had a Spotify account. I had Facebook when I was, I think, old enough to have a Facebook. Same with Instagram. I've been around these things my whole life, and it was kind of like, I remember talking to my dad about crypto, and I told him, I was like, the people who didn't buy into the age of the internet back in the early 2000s, late 1990s are very, very, very confused right now, because for the longest time, they didn't think it was going to happen. And, as somebody, like I said, who's been around it for so long, you kind of get this sense. And I remember I heard about NFTs, I was listening to the Pat McAfee show, and Tyrese Halliburton, he's a second-year NBA player, but at the time he was still a rookie, was talking about NBA Top Shot. And I'm telling my dad, I'm like, look, like, these are the innovative times in human history. And I went back in my room and I was like, So I did kind of like a self-audit. I really thought through, like, what am I currently capable of? And where do my passions and interests take me? I literally went across the country for high school, and went to high school with a bunch of people from across the world. And then I came back to Cleveland, and I got a chance to see my city as a grown man, having learned, so much about how the world works. And I just finished watching this show called Startup on Netflix. And I'm watching the show, and one of the things I noticed in the show was that no matter what happened, obviously this was it's TV, but my dad said his grandfather told him that he was like, grandson, if they put it on TV, they either can do it or they plan to do it. So clearly this stuff is coming from somewhere. And I'm watching the show, and one thing they didn't do is they didn't stop. And so I was sitting and thinking to myself, if I were to invest money into NFTs over the next 3 to 5 years, is that my cap? Or can I really create a new Web3 company based around NFTs? And I was like, yeah. So once I kind of had that realization with myself, all the stars just started to align. Like I was at a meet and greet event for at the time he just won the primary, but he was getting ready for the final election. But Mayor of Cleveland, Justin Bibb, I was a meet and greet for him, and he was the only person I knew. I'd spoken with him the previous summer about an initiative I wanted to start here in the city of Cleveland. And I just got off the phone with someone. My dad gave us a name for it, Lazy Moose. And once he gave me the name, I was kind of like, all right. Like, so I told a couple of my friends about it. And I'm talking with this guy right before I leave for New York. This was in September. And he was like, if you really think you can do this and you have this vision, then tell everybody. Just don't stop telling people, like really manifest it. And so I'm in this room. I didn't want to hang around Justin because he was the guy that everybody's literally there for. And he's also like, in a mayoral race. So I don't think, that's the time. So the first person I talked to, I walk up to this woman, I introduce myself. I say, hey, I'm Musa Hakim Jr. And I gave her the spiel I gave y'all at the beginning. And I was like, yeah, and I'm also kind of, thinking about this thing. I have a friend of mine are thinking about starting this NFT project. And I started talking about why, finding ways to bridge our physical community and our digital community by investing a lot of it of what we do, to create real change here in the city of Cleveland. And she was like, I'm going to connect you with someone, that I know at this organization called Jumpstart. And Jumpstart has been tremendous to us. Shout out to Camille, who's the person who introduced us. And,
Shout out to Camille.
Big shout out to Camille. And the woman I spoke with, she connected me with Ray Leach, who's the CEO at Jumpstart. And it just took off from there. When I first told her about it, it was the same way. I remember I ended up going to boarding school in a similar way. I remember coming home. Phillips Exeter came to visit my school, and they told us about boarding schools and what the experience was like. And I remember going home to my parents and being like, I want to go to boarding school. And that was it. Like once I said that, I was like, that's what I want to do. And when my dad gave me that name, Lazy Moose, I went home that day, and I was like, I'm going to do this. And like I said on that show, it was like that don't stop element was the only thing I had to check to make sure I had. And I've been doing that my whole life. So after I saw it, I was like, I'm just gonna have to make sure that I, listen to people, continue to just do what I've been doing.
Yeah.
Respecting people, being nice to people, understanding that I don't know everything, and I can't do it on my own. It's huge. And my co-founder, she's technically undoxed. / not a huge social media person. But I was talking with my dad, and this was the most powerful thing that anyone's told me so far since I've started this. And this was what helped me relax. I think this was, a little bit after I had come back from the meet and greet and got connected with Ray Leach. He told me, he said, son, listen to this. This is going to be crucial. He said, you don't have to know how to drive a ship to be a captain. So I have to find somebody who can. And when he told me that, that was it. Like that was when I really, really understood like what I was doing. I'm not trying to, build this thing on my own. I'm trying to connect individuals who can help me paint out the vision that I have. You go to someone and you're like, hey, I want you to help me build this house. And that's a collective vision between yourself and an individual who builds that house. And there's people who make whole businesses off of that. And I wanted to, make a way for people who look like me, who've been through similar circumstances, who, have had to, have nothing their whole life, be like, man, Musa went from, I tell people, I'm from 93rd Kinsman at the end of the day. I went from 93rd Kinsman, and I want to start one of the biggest companies ever, So having that mindset, I think, is very difficult, and obviously it won't be easy, but if that could help somebody else dream a little bit bigger, who may be young now, or maybe, young 10, 15 years from now, I'm willing to take all the bruises, blood, sweat, and tears I can to make that dream for somebody else. And that was what made me want to start something like this.
And that's a very inspiring vision, man. And there's a lot in what you just said. What one part about what you said I want to point out. You mentioned this "don't stop" element, and I think that you said that's something that you've had your whole life, or that you've put towards the things that you do your whole life, like checking off that "don't stop" element, because you hear that when you look at people who reach the destination that they're going towards, that "don't stop" element, you hear like the difference between those who ended up getting to where they're looking to get to, or accomplishing what they wanted to accomplish. You often hear it was a matter of just not stopping, and so like to be able to like have that checkbox, or cross that box off, or even just having in your head that you're committed to something that you'll be able to see through, and that you can be committed to on that level. I think that's real wisdom for any of us listening and watching this right now. So I think this is a good segue into Lazy Moose. Because we haven't even spoken about Lazy Moose yet, but you so eloquently just broken down the whole NFT Web3 space for us. If you could talk to us about Lazy Moose, like what you're looking to accomplish with it.
Right. So the overall mission and goal of Lazy Moose is three things. It was two up until like an hour or two ago. We want to create more accessibility around NFTs. We want to create a very strong and cohesive community surrounded, fueled by diversity of thought. And we want to really engineer and innovate the NFT. Those are the three things we're looking to do. So how we're going to do that is, in my opinion, the really fun part. So we're looking to, right now, we're in the process of getting our NFTs created. And once we finish getting our NFTs created, we're going to be working with a blockchain developer to get our smart contracts created. We're looking to work with, we have a couple of companies we might look to partner with as far as, working on their blockchains, helping us get the project created. But if we want to do it, we have a couple of different options how we can do it. And then we've also looked to partner with, like you mentioned earlier, a bunch of different individuals, brands, and corporations, some of whom, have in their own right a lot of, star power, or, are gaining their star power. And one of my favorite things is what I came up with. This is my contribution to the Lazy Moose name. My dad came up with the name, my co-founder came up with the logo, and then I came up with the tagline, which is live projections into the future. Because I kind of tell people, one of the things that I was thinking through when we first started the project is we're looking to help people grow in the NFT space. So if you're with us within the space, obviously now it'll be most likely you'll be dealing and talking with me on most of the time. We want people who are looking to, like I said, what are you trying to do 5 to 10 years from now within the NFT space? Because if you're looking to get in now, it's cool, but you kind of want to stay because it's not even good yet. We think, it's crazy. You go to the Bored Ape site, they're on OpenSea, they're at over 100 million in valuation as far as what they've traded. There's a lot. It looks cool, but how many people still don't know what an NFT is? So we want people who are looking to project what we have right now into the future. And that was my biggest thing. So what we're looking to do is we're looking to bring in, so I'll give an example. A friend of mine, his name's Alex. He's a musician. We're going to create a number of different NFTs that'll be our project. So we have our set number of NFTs that are our PFP NFTs with our Moose. It'll be, rotating attributes. And we plan on rotating those attributes and assigning particular utilities to particular attributes. So say, my NFT is a black hoodie with our logo on it, white gold diamond prong chain, and a do-rag. That's what's on my NFT. So, look out for whatever utilities come with those three items, because that's a very rare NFT. So as those particular accessories or attributes pop up, those will unlock different utilities within a community. Because the individuals we're partnered with, we're going to help create their own NFT projects. So you can either buy into Lazy Moose and you can pay us and we'll take a percentage, or we'll take a percentage of your mint or something like that for us to create and take you through the process of creating NFTs. Or you can collaborate with us on a project, and we'll use, either your logo or maybe something that's similar to your likeness within our project. And we will use that as a source for entry point for people into your community, right? So there's two different communities. There's the general public, and there's the NFT community, right? Because when you look at this, there are people who are they already know what they want. They already know what projects they're going to buy into. They already have their, like, I'm not buying an NFT project unless that's X, Y, and Z. There's already people who've kind of made up their mind on these things. And then you have a bunch of people who have no idea what an NFT is. So how do you bridge those two communities to get access to both markets? You have to make sure, like I was saying earlier, you market it correctly. So if you're a Walmart, don't drop an NFT project if none of your consumers know what NFTs are, because that's not a good idea. Yeah. If you're an individual person, like I said earlier, don't just drop some NFTs because you want to. You have to go through the process of, knowing what blockchain to mint on. These are the kind of things we're looking to help people on. What blockchain are you going to mint on? What marketplace should you sell your NFTs on? Everybody here is OpenSea. If you're Joe Blow and you're on OpenSea, who knows you, right? This isn't, it's not like a normal store where you go into a normal store and you kind of browse around. If you're buying NFT, you're looking for a particular type of NFT. So if you're not a well-known person, it might get lost in the dust. So we want to give people the opportunity to either pair with us to grow their exposure, and then for us as well, growing, having people grow our exposure, and kind of like really like networking. So, holding different Twitter spaces with individuals, where we have musicians come in and talk about the music industry, talk about, the things you need to look for when you're signing contracts. Those are the kind of things I think are very important, because a lot of times people oftentimes make missteps because they don't understand. So if we can help bridge the gap of understanding through NFTs, why am I here? Well, I was in the Twitter space about NFTs. That's how I got here. I wouldn't be in Twitter space if I wasn't into NFTs. When you buy an NFT and they're like, hey, like, join our Twitter space. You have this NFT, you're in this Discord. You may not even own an NFT. Maybe you're just, interested because, your favorite musician makes an NFT. So that's really what we're trying to do. And that's where that diversity of thought piece comes in. On the accessibility side, we're trying to really take out all the nuances and issues associated with creating NFTs and buying NFTs. So that's something that's like definitely on like the longer term side for the project. So right now what we're trying to do is bridge that through education, because a lot of people who are early on are still early adopters. So we can do things like do mass education. We can point people in the direction of where to go with sources that we trust. We can give people access to, individuals we've collaborated with, their whole social media profiles, things like that, so that people can be informed. Like you were saying, I've said, follow me on Instagram or Twitter, because these are the people I interact with. I only interact with people that I would buy an NFT from, I would sell an NFT to, or I would ask questions about NFTs. Because again, I got my own skin in the game too. Following a particular project is important, but making sure that people can get access to the information and the NFTs is very important. And then the third thing, like I said, I think this is the part that's lost on people, is these aren't just pieces of art or, monkeys on a background. This is a technology. In the same way that Instagram is not a collection of photos and likes and DMs. It's a unique system that allows for a number of different people to communicate across the world simultaneously. Like I said earlier, NFTs are a new instrument for monetizing experiences. So how can we continue to project what we have now into the future to create better innovations within the NFT space? That's why I tell people, you can believe me or you can't, but in 10 years, I'm still gonna be talking about NFTs because I'm really trying to create NFTs for now, tomorrow, and the future. And I think, like I said, that's the fun part for me is, sitting through and thinking, what do people want right now? Like we had to do a PFP project. Like I said, I'm a consumer and I want, I see, Lil Baby, Future, Meek Mill, they got all these NFTs. I want to not only have my own NFT, but how would you feel, if you had a Lazy Moose and your favorite artist has one, or, you're an art museum you've been going to since you were a kid, has one hung up in their place, so that's what people are looking towards now. But, 3 or 4 years from now, getting access to VR experience through your NFTs, having your NFT exist within, a metaverse, things like that are what people are looking to do. But like I said, the general public needs to really be warmed up to that. So we're trying to help people ease their way into the transition.
I'm sorry, can you explain what a PFP is?
Sorry about that. Yeah. I've been trying to use less acronyms. Profile picture. So that's what our project is. So when I say PFP, that's profile picture. And it's so say, for example, you got your black sweater with the P on it, you got your pink shirt with the red hat. That's y'all's NFT. In the same way, I always post these pictures on Twitter of my character on 2K. He's got fits on fits. Yeah. Because that's my digital person, right? That's how I want him to look in that digital world, right? So in the same way, this is a really, really interesting example for me personally. Customized license plates. Like, why would you ever need to have your license plate customized? Because you want somebody else to see that that's your expression of yourself. Yeah. So like, I think I didn't use MySpace. I'm a little too young for this, but when MySpace first came out, they had the wall and you could customize your wall how you want it. And when everybody got there, it was like, oh, this is this person's expression. Yeah. Same with the NFTs. So that's kind of what we're trying to move towards too, is allowing people to and this is where we are on that example I gave earlier. We're trying to create a system where we can have a large number of NFTs that are accessible to a wide variety of people. Because I think about it like this: when I was 10 years old, I would not have been able to afford any of these NFTs, and neither would my family. So I don't want to create something I couldn't have been able to participate in myself. And we have to wait for, the blockchain technology to catch up. We have to wait for, like I said, mass adoption. But, we're looking to grow into something where a lot of people can say that they've interacted with a Lazy Moose NFT in some kind of way on a variety of price entry points.
And the PFP, the profile picture, so these are the NFTs that you see people making the profile pictures, but that you can also see, let's say, if you're walking around in one of these metaverse platforms, or that's what you're saying?
Yeah. So like I have a Dapper Ape High Society NFT as my profile on Twitter, right? And so that's my avatar, and whatever somebody saying like Fortnite, or a Call of Duty video game, or if you buy a car with particular mods you have on it, that'll be what you're represented to as the rest of the community. So Twitter actually has a cool functionality where if you connect your wallet to Twitter, some people in the space disagree with this fundamentally because you are connecting to a centralized exchange. Again, do that at your own risk and do that with your own understanding of what you want out of your experience within Web3. But you can then display your profile as an NFT. Like that's hard. Like, look, like, there's the blue check, and now there's I think it's like a hexagon. There's the NFT hexagon, like that's everybody gonna try to get next, so it is a cool way to kind of, showcase what you have and what community you belong to.
That's dope. That's dope. And man, you've dropped so much information and knowledge. We appreciate you being on the show with us. We're starting to round the corner towards the end of the show. But I want to ask you, what are you most excited for? Or rather, what should people be most excited for that's upcoming for Lazy Moose? Because you got such a big vision for this company, and it's there are a lot of parts to it, multiple markets, groups. For people who are just getting tuned into Lazy Moose, what should they be most excited for in the near future?
I would say there's a couple of things that we're going to be organizing over the next few weeks. One of the things I haven't talked about, and this is the perfect time to talk about it, is the charity/philanthropy side of it. So like I said, what we're doing with our project is we're looking to invest a lot of what we create into the city of Cleveland. But, I know people in a lot of different places, and there's a lot of places that could definitely benefit from, a little bit extra energy and effort towards a particular cause. So, one of the projects we've collaborated is called I Am Human Co. I connected with an individual, her name is Willow on Twitter, and she kind of introduced me to the project. There's one individual we're collaborating with. Another entity we're collaborating with, which I mentioned, is Breakthrough Schools. So we have a fundraiser coming up for Breakthrough Schools. One of our board members is going to be running in the Badwater 135, which is I'm not doing it, but more power to him. I could not. It's a 135-mile run. And right. And he's doing
more
it
than an ultra marathon. That's a lot of miles.
That's a super ultra marathon. He's running it for Breakthrough Schools. So one of the schools is actually the school that's closest to where I grew up. Our Woodland Hills campus, they need a new gym. Currently, the gym at the school is the cafeteria. And that's how it was when I was there, and they're looking to build a new gym, and we're looking to do a fundraiser around that. So we're going to be doing a couple of events, over in the month of April, locations to be determined. We're going to have a couple of things here in Cleveland, but potentially one in Santa Barbara, California, and potentially another one in another location we're hoping to lock down soon. Because like I said, that's the part that's the coolest thing for me. Whenever I go into a school, a breakthrough school, or I'm talking to students, or I'm talking with alumni, and you kind of hear these stories about, I remember the one time I went into one of the schools and someone asked me, "Are you the boy that went to school in California?" And it was crazy, to kind of know that they hear those kind of things. We just had our first breakthrough student go to Harvard. That's huge. Especially in a city like Cleveland, where a lot of people really have to work to get, where they feel they should be, and they may not even end up there. So to have that come out of the city is so beautiful. And for us to be able to contribute directly toward that is great. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be packaging, there will be the fundraiser that's standalone, but there will also be our contribution to the fundraiser, which will be a series of NFTs we release, where you buy the NFTs, and these NFTs, that's why I mentioned I Am Human Co. They're going to fall into this category. A percentage of the NFTs, of the legacy price for the NFTs. So this will be one where we get 100% of the royalties, because we want as much of the donation to go towards Breakthrough Schools as possible. So it'll probably be some breakdown where we take a certain percentage, Breakthrough takes a certain percentage, and the rest goes back into our community. So if you're buying one of the NFTs and you're within a community, you're not losing any money. It still circulates back into our community. But yeah, we're looking to do the same thing with I Am Human Co. and a couple of other nonprofits we're looking to work with. We still have to figure out, cross our T's and dot our I's and everything to make sure we're have all the proper regulations and everything like that in place. But that'll be coming up soon over the next few months. We're going to be talking a lot about that. And that's where the real work really starts. So you'll be able to buy into the project. It may be something like I have a Breakthrough Public Schools hoodie in my closet. You might have a Lazy Moose NFC with a Breakthrough hoodie on it, or I Am Human Co. hoodie on it, or it may be, a drawing from one of the students. We're looking to see how we can do it. But I'm excited for that.
Cool. It's cool. It's cool. Man, you've broken it down, man. You've broken it down, and we appreciate you being on our show. Especially this again. This is our first guest who is building in this space specifically, and it's so important that our communities really understand like what's going on and what's coming in the future too. Like you said, like part of what this is with Lazy Moose is projecting into the future, and the fact that you're prioritizing the education around it, for others to become a part and to tap in. Like I want to thank you, man, for being a trailblazer in the space and for the work that you're doing. It's very powerful. You mentioned this ultra marathon that your friend's doing, and I see you got is that Case Western track?
Yes. Yeah, I'm I also in the 3 hours of free time I have a week.
Yeah.
I coach track at Case. I'm a track coach at Case.
Oh, word.
Assistant coaches, yeah. And I also ran there for 4 years.
Okay, yeah, because I noticed the tracksuit when you first came on. My other partner Sekou and I we both ran track at Penn. So what races were you?
I ran the 60, the 1, the 2, and the 4x1.
Okay. Yeah. Sekou ran the 4x1. Right. Yeah. So yeah, that's dope. Always happy to see a fellow trackie.
Yeah. We just had our conference meet over the weekend.
Okay.
Big day for a lot of folks. For some of them it was their first competition in a while, and we had a couple of school records broken too. So it was a good weekend.
Wow, that's dope, man. That's dope. So there's a question that we like to end off our interviews with, and that question is for your younger self. If you had to talk to the younger Musa, knowing that you have this passion and you'd be going down this road, and then the ups and the downs that come along with it, what would you tell that younger Musa as far as like how you navigate the landscape?
I would say, and I'm gonna interject a quick story. And I would say have faith. I remember my freshman year of high school. We did we go on this. Kate takes us on these outings week trips, and the freshmen we go to Piles Boys Camp, and there's this jump we do off of 20 feet. I think it's like 15, 20, and 25 feet into water. And at the time, I couldn't swim. So they gave me a life jacket, and I was so scared to do it. But I knew that I wanted to do it. So we climb up this rock face, just like, it's like this, like we're like walking up this thing like this, we finally get there. I was so nervous, and I just jumped, and I didn't die. I was the thing I was scared about. I was most scared about. I was so scared, like I was gonna jump in the water and drown, and I was all right. And I feel like over the last 15 years since I really started on the path that I'm on now, there were a lot of times where I didn't think that I was going to make it to where I am now, for a lot of different reasons. Like I said, growing up where I grew up, I thought I think I was going to make it past 18. Even after I got into Kate, even after my first trimester, my second trimester, my third trimester, I still would always be worried when I was home something's going to happen. And having faith not only in myself and my process, but God, and being able to say that I'm going to be all right is something I really had to grow into. So if I could just tell my younger self, man, have faith. I think it's going to be all right. And I think for a long time I was so scared that it wouldn't, and still am. Sometimes I get nervous. I'm like, man, I don't know if this person's going to call me back, or what if they find another NFT project to partner with. But like having faith in myself and my process, and knowing that at the end of the day, if I've done everything that I can do to prepare for success, and that's all I really can do. So
Musa, it's been a pleasure having you on our show. For everyone tuned in, you're here with us on Pepper Soup Talk. We speak to movers and shakers like Musa. He's got Lazy Moose NFT, a big vision for it. He's really educating all communities really on NFTs, the Web3 space, and we're excited to see where you take things. Man, honestly, I feel like this conversation could go on for a long time, and we might need to have you back on a part 2.
Yeah, I was saying, let me know, man. Let me know.
Yeah,
I'm always a huge
eventually.
podcast fan, and it's sometimes they'll have like the hour-long podcast, and others are for like a couple of hours. And I always the hour-long ones, I'm always like, yeah, that's me. I'm in the studio for 3 hours, man. Like, so part 2 is right up my alley.
Well, this is Pepper Soup Talk, so we owe you a bowl of pepper soup, and when we do part 2, we got to have it in person over a bowl.
Okay. That sounds good with me.
For sure.
Sounds good with me.
So,
all right, I appreciate y'all giving me the platform. Toby Aki, I appreciate it, and thank you for having me on there.